Okay. Welcome, everyone. I call the meeting of the Rockport Select Board for Monday, December 8th at 6 p.m. to order. We have an agenda full of items. We're meeting here in the Parker Room. The first item is we have a public hearing on a dangerous building. And Andrew Lowe is here, who's our code enforcement officer. And Andrew, you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, we've got a dangerous building hearing on 325 West Street. In the packet, will that come up on the screen also? So we're talking about a building and property that had a fire on May 13th of this year. And based on the Maine statute for dangerous building, this report follows the criteria. Basically, each step, 1, 2, 3, 4. First being structurally unsafe. On the screen, you can see that it had a lot of damage due to the fire. Unsanitary, scroll down, large amounts outside and on the inside of the structure. In the basement, outbuildings in the yard. In the driveway, keep scrolling down a little bit. It constitutes another fire hazard because it's unsecure and there's a large amount of debris, burned and unburned. It is not suitable for occupancy based on the conditions. And it constitutes a health hazard because, again, it's not secure, so rodents can get in, people can get in. And I have had reports of rats seen on the property. So this hearing is kind of to set a timeline of when that needs to be cleaned up. You guys make the decision whether it meets the criteria of dangerous building. And then I recommend in that packet, I recommend the cleanup to be all done by May 31st of next year because of the winter.
May 31st.
March 31st. The property owner's family has secured a demo permit, but there's been no activity with that. That's probably been, there it is. There's no expiration date because you guys will decide when that expiration date is.
When was that granted? I don't see a date.
I don't see a date on there either. A month and a half ago.
Okay. Go up to the top. Was there some, not near the letterhead?
No, it doesn't. It just has an expiration
Oh,
date.
2025
Yeah, I should've
E194.
pulled that up,
Okay.
but, yep.
Okay. So, but there's an existing demo permit, but the owner has not done anything with respect to
One
that.
car has been removed. That's all I've seen for activity.
Okay. 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 Anything else? I mean, we'll hear from it. If anybody else is here, we'll hear from them, but,
Good evening. I'm Renee Longoria from Dune & Graves in Longoria, and I represent the first mortgage lien holder on the property. We became aware of the property initially.
who is the first mortgage holder?
Celine Finance LP.
Okay.
Okay. We became aware of this property because of the default. The file came to my office, and as part of opening up a file, we do various searches, and one of them came across the article with the fire. And so as soon as I became aware of it, I began asking the client to, secure the insurance proceeds and think about what should happen next. Last week I filed.
Can I just interrupt? So the
Yes, yes.
insurance proceeds would go to the mortgage holder rather than the owner of the property, is that correct?
They do initially because the insurance policy is paid by the mortgage holder when somebody quits paying their bills.
Okay.
So that's usually the first step. So in this case, because the loan was in default, we filed the foreclosure complaint. We served the foreclosure complaint. There was a default, and that case is proceeding, but that will likely take 3 or 4 more months to get to a foreclosure judgment. In the meantime, the main statutes and the general powers of the Superior Court give the court authority to appoint a receiver. A receiver is an officer of the court, and the duties and responsibilities that we have requested that the receiver have are to address the dangerous building. The receiver would be appointed to not only do the demolition, but clean the exterior. Well, step 1 would be to clean the exterior so you don't have the debris, et cetera. 2, you're going to have to complete the demolition and make sure that all of that is removed. At that point, there will have to be a determination made whether it makes sense to rebuild or to just sell the lot as a vacant lot. But a receiver is literally, once appointed, is the officer of the court, and he's going to report, or the receiver that I have requested to be appointed is Ben Campo. I've had him appointed as receiver in other cases, and he's a member of the bar and familiar with this type of work, and he's good at it, and he understands his fiduciary responsibilities. In this case, there's really a joint responsibility. He's responsible to the court and is an officer of the court, but he's also responsible to the town because the town has raised the issue and it's a danger to the community. He's responsible to the lender to make sure that as much equity as possible is preserved. And then he's responsible for the proceeds. Whatever's left would go back to the homeowner after everything was sold and everything was cleaned up. So.
What kind of timeframes would we be looking at for the receiver to be appointed and then for the work to be done?
So the motion was sent to be filed on Friday, so it should have arrived today. If there's no objections, it should be signed in 16, 17 days, depending on when the court sits. So basically, by the end of December, we should have that. I did file it as a expedite or emergency motion, so it's possible that the court will hear it more quickly than that, or that he will order a hearing more quickly than that, because I've requested it to be an emergency appointment. And once appointed, I've already, to make sure that it was within the scope of what the receiver could do, the receiver and his agent have already looked at the property. I gave them Andrew's photos, but they've been out to the property as well. There is always a shortage of contractors in general, but I am told that there's a shortage here in particular, so he'll need to be resourceful in making sure that he secures folks to take care of that before your March deadline. If for any reason he wasn't able to finish by March, I would come back and ask for an extension, but I think that's a realistic time frame, depending on what Mother Nature gives us for winter, to complete. Because you're not looking at rebuilding, you're just looking at the cleanup.
Right, we just want to
You
make
just
sure
want
people don't get hurt.
a clean baseline, and that's relatively straightforward.
Yeah, okay. And I was understanding that for us to pursue the dangerous building determination then puts the mortgage holders lien.
At risk.
Okay.
It does. And that is the reason why my client authorized me to step up, file the motion to appoint the receiver, and do that, because if you make the determination that it's a dangerous building and you decide to act yourselves as opposed to letting the mortgage holder or the borrower take the action, you will then argue that your lien is superior to ours. And if all that is done is clean up, it's not that big of a deal. Friday, I had one with a $385,000 super lien that my client did not know of, that the town hired their own receiver. And so my clients are understandably afraid of a town receiver, and it may be that you all would just pay some very nice contractor to clean this up, and it would be a $10,000 or $20,000 operation. But once your person's in place and your super lien starts to run, if they decided to rebuild, there's nothing I could do. And so that's why I would ask your indulgence. I apologize that I wasn't swifter. It just took me a little bit of time to get everybody on the same page as far as understanding that while we have the insurance proceeds in what we call restricted escrow, this is something we still have to address.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming in, and I think we have owned we've, been in the position of owning other properties, and it's not a business we want to be in.
Okay.
So if we can work with you and get the same result, which is cleanup of the property.
Absolutely.
By March 31st. Now, what I understand procedurally, so this is the hearing portion, and we'll, unless there's anybody else here who wants to speak up, okay, well, we've got some other people to speak. But we may close the hearing, and then a separate action item is to decide what to do.
To vote.
And that's something we could continue until our next select board meeting with the expectation that you and the town would enter into an agreement
Right.
where the mortgage holder would commit to getting this work done within our time frame.
I would be happy to do that. I would generally, once the receiver is appointed, I'm happy to present an action plan so that you know both the timeframes and what we would set forth in doing.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we have someone else who would like to come up?
Hello, I'm Amy Libby. I live at 7 Mountain View Drive, which is the adjacent property to Andrea's home. I don't think I need to say much about the property itself. I've been in touch with the code enforcement officer several times. I just want to report on things that I've seen during the time the house has been vacant. There has been some intermittent activity on the property from what I believe is people that were associated with Andrea that had possessions on the property. And so there has been some activity within the garage space where people have lived over time on the property.
So they're coming and removing things?
Removing things,
Removing their
yeah.
possessions.
Remove possessions, including, I think, one of the vehicles on the property. Beyond that, my main concern is the rodents on the property. So when Andrea lived there, she reported to me directly that there was a rodent problem on the property already that she was trying to deal with. And over the summer, we've seen several rats passing between on the driveway coming in and on the property line and in my backyard. And so I am just really hoping and urging that the March 31st deadline happens and that the multitude of trash that's on the property is also addressed just for the well-being of the people in my home and my animals. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Anyone else for the hearing on the dangerous building? Okay, we'll close that hearing and move back into our other agenda items. Next, any amendments to the agenda?
Denise?
Yeah.
I didn't see there is, I'm sorry. There is live, never mind.
Okay. Any public comment on non-agenda items? You don't want to come?
Question.
Yes.
Are you going to allow comments on the Rock Road when it comes up, or should we speak on that at this time?
I think we'll put them, we'll speak at the time for the agenda item. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Public comment.
On non-agenda
Non-agenda?
items?
Yeah,
Yeah, that might be you, right?
okay, we're up. I'm Richard Remsen. I live in scenic West Rockport. And for a number of years, Park Street has been a wonderful raceway. People zip around the corner and then consider it really a one-way street. So if you follow these cars that are, some of them going 60, you know, they're taking up both lanes. And the town has started to put more up-to-date, more reflective speed limit signs. And I've put some signs up too, to try to slow the traffic down. Years ago, the town paid for a center line all the way through Park Street. But I think, you know, this time of year, it's difficult to put anything on the ground. But it would be great to put something in the budget to put a center line, the more reflective center lines, from the roofing company next to the Baptist church up to the cemetery. And I think that would be a huge help. So that was my suggestion, is, you know, make it a budget item, because it's, you know, there are kids and dogs and stuff, and when people are all over the road, it's, you know, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's been more difficult. The other suggestion would be the town has a radar speed limit sign, and Park Street had it at one point for a couple of weeks. And I think it moves around, but it'd be great if we could get it back on Park Street for more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That would be a help, because people have said, gee, that's a great idea. You know, we see it because it, you know, it's
Those are
right.
apparently quite effective.
Yeah, yeah. So, other than putting speed bumps, you know, and a barrier, I think a center line and a radar detector is not too onerous.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, John.
Thank you.
I just have a question. Is it legal for individuals to start putting up traffic signs on our streets?
I punt this mostly to our police chief, what can be enforced and what can't be enforced. I mean, obviously, the signage that is compliant with MUTCD, which are the gold standard for what signage is supposed to look like, is to look like. As Richard said, we'd ordered a couple of signs, actually 4 signs. We're waiting for the 30-mile-an-hour signs to show up. But for those to be in effect, they need to be effectively placed there by the town, have the town's endorsement of them. And then they can actually be something that the police can enforce. So without that, you know, if, you know, you'll see, slow, drive like your children live, your family lives here, or things like that, which there's nothing really to enforce about that. But certainly there are, I think those were always helpful hints, right? But in terms of enforcement, nothing you can do. Yeah.
Well, I guess, Richard, are you coordinating with Public Works on these signs, I guess, is
Well,
more?
it was a suggestion, because the ones that are there now are probably 30 years old, and the new ones are very reflective. So when the headlights hit them,
Well, I'm
it
not
would-
questioning the design of your sign, I'm just,
No. The signs we put up is to show that there's a curve in the road, because people have gone, once they're speeding, they either don't realize that
yeah, I
there's a
understand that,
curve.
but you're putting up the sign, or is Public Works putting up the sign? I'm just trying to get.
It's not it's on the telephone pole, just to say that there's a curve coming up. Yeah,
All right. Well, I just, I can see, this getting out of, other people deciding, I'm gonna put up signs,
well,
and
I
what-
suppose if there was a serious traffic issue, I wouldn't prevent somebody from putting up a sign that tells people what the dangers are if they don't slow down.
Well,
Because
you
cars have gone off the road, and
Sure. Well, you've come up with some good ideas and things that the town can evaluate, and
yeah,
we want our people to be safe, so, thank you.
okay.
Thanks, Richard.
Any other public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, we'll move to the town manager's report. John?
I'll try to move this fast because I'm sure this is not the part everyone showed up tonight to listen to. Dog licenses are due. If you have a dog, make sure you come in. You can obviously We have a link, we can do these online as well, so move that along and let FIDO be legal for another year. It's always a good thing. In our police department, I want to thank Sergeant Jimmy Moore, who worked for the town for over 10 years for our police department. Jimmy stepped away from policing this past month, and a lot of our residents have had a chance to interact with Jim. He was a rock for us in some times that were, we were shorthanded, had difficulty. Obviously, we had a lot of tragedy internally in our department, and you know, Jim has been a very important piece of Rockport PD for a long time. So we definitely wish Jim well. We've invited him to come back early and often to visit and steal from everyone's candy dishes when he wants. We have, in Jimmy's absence, we promoted James Greeley into the soon-to-be vacant position, or then vacant position of sergeant. Sergeant Greeley came to us a year ago from the Searsport Police Department, and he's had a good year because he served as an assistant coach on the Camden Hills football team that won its first state championship a few weeks ago. So it's been a good month for Jim, and we're looking forward to his leadership and experience coming to the fore here in the year ahead. So we are still looking for officers. Again, though we've promoted, we all still have vacancies, so if you're interested in applying, come see us. We've got applications and so forth. And last thing I just will mention is we are sort of around the bend here in winter maintenance season, so plows are out. This is a good time to make sure we're not parking on the side of the streets. Try to let our plow crews do their work. The less interruption, the less that's in their way, the sooner the snow is gone, the sooner the ice is gone. So these folks are out there. Every time they go around is 200 miles, and it's a two-hour tour, kind of like Gilligan. Fortunately, they get back home and they got to do load of sand and salt, and they have to go back out and do it all again. But these folks they're working very hard for us to make sure we're all safe. We can get to work, we can get to the grocery store, we can get to the hospital if we need to. So we can all do our part, and just trying to make sure we give them the room and the space they need to do their jobs. And I think we have an excellent crew. They do a great job in getting our roads as clean and clear as quickly as reasonably possible. But it takes our work as well to make sure they don't have to go around that car that was parked there overnight, or all these sort of little things that can, plowing across the road. These are things that make it difficult, make it harder to get our roads clean and clear. So if you have any questions about Public Works or plowing and sanding, feel free to give the Public Works crew a call. There's a phone number you can reach out to, and certainly if you have any questions, reach out to me. So other than that, everything else is pretty much small stuff. So, hey, John.
John, I just had a question about the Harbor Implementation Task Force note. The wording, I think, is meant to say that we found a grant that has the potential to pay for the balance. Is that what we're?
I think we're still looking.
So what is the balance that we're referring to?
I would say the balance
Is that the
we have a
match?
grant.
The
We
match
have-
for the 2.5?
Right. But obviously, there's, as the plan proposed, much larger than that, 2 million. So we
Right.
have to find room. We have to find a way to fill the gap, and that's really.
So again, the language, I'm not clear. Is it, have we already identified a grant?
We haven't identified.
We need a grant.
We need the grants.
Okay,
We need the
that's-
money. We
that's-
can't do any, we can't get started.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for John? Okay.
I was wondering if I could speak on behalf of something you've already gone over, Andrea's property.
That hearing is closed. We had a public hearing on that, and the hearing is closed.
I thought you started at 6:30, so we arrived late at 6:15. So I'm just wondering if I can make any comments about it. It seems like it's moving kind of fast here after we've just got a permit to demo it, and she's getting ready to talk with the lender and all that good stuff. So I
what's the right protocol?
We could go to that agenda item and then.
Okay, so we'll be getting to the particular agenda item for that, and then we can have you make public comment during that.
Great,
Okay?
yeah.
All right, next is our consent agenda. We've got some committee resignation and our meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second, John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I don't think
Oh,
Kim,
Kim can't vote.
wasn't here,
Yeah, so
right.
Kim's a no.
So
Okay.
4.
4. And I'd like to say thank you very much to Marilyn McWilliams, who was on the Parks and Beautification Committee and was an important member of that committee, and she and her husband have moved back to Portland. So
Oh, good luck.
good luck to them. Okay. Next, we have act on committee applications. We have 2 committee applications. First one is for Bill Bowe to join the Budget Committee. And that is, just for some background on this for folks, Bill's submitted an application. We had a resignation from the Budget Committee. That's an elected position, and the town charter provides that the Select Board fills elected positions. And we announced at our last meeting that we had this opening. We now have the applicant. And for those of us who know Bill Bowe, he's been just a tremendous asset to our town. He couldn't be here tonight, but he's worked on a number of committees in the town. He has an engineering background, is also just very good at solving complex problems, complex technical problems, good communicator, works well with others. We're just really happy that he's willing to be on the Budget Committee, and he's been following that process, so he's up to speed on where we are with budget issues and working through some of the preparatory work we've been working on this year uniquely for our budget. So,
And just to add to that a little bit, Denise, we did put out a call for people to volunteer to serve on the committee at the last Select Board meeting. And this is the only application we've received.
yep. So, do we have a motion?
I move to appoint Bill Bowe to the Budget Committee with a term ending June of 2026.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Next is, we also have a vacancy on the Library Committee, which is also an elected position. And we have an applicant for that position, Guy Mason. I don't know if Guy is here tonight. Okay, well, he submitted an application. He's been in touch with the librarian, Ben Blackman, and is someone with a library science background. He actually, this is what I'm very interested in, he has quite a background in and experience in archiving of records, which, especially how to deal with electronic records, which is a challenge for our small towns. So it's going to be great to have him join the Library Committee, and who knows where that might go. So do we have a motion to appoint Guy Mason to the Library Committee?
I move to appoint Guy Mason to the Library Committee with a term ending June of 2028.
Second from Kim. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Great. All right. Next, we have, this is our action item on the dangerous building. So why don't we start with the comments, the folks who showed up to make a comment on the dangerous building, 325 West Street? Do you want to come up to this is your chance.
Come on up.
Come on up to the microphone here and introduce yourself and.
Yes.
Yep, right there. Speak into that mic.
Microphone, but that's okay.
Well, we have, we're recording this, and we have our at-home folks, and they
Great.
can't hear you without the mic.
Thank you. I'm Christine Annis, and Andrea is our daughter, and you know that she, probably most of you know that she's in residential rehab down in Portland right now, trying to get her life back together. I have a letter that I wrote to you all, and I don't know if I could maybe just read from that, if I could. And we're trying to help her make decisions that she can't make right now. So I wrote a letter. I'm writing on behalf of our daughter, Andrea Annis, who owns the property located at 325 West Street in Rockport. As the town is aware, the home suffered a severe fire and has been deemed unsafe, and we understand and agree with the town's determination that the remaining structure must be demolished for the safety of the community. At this time, our daughter is participating in court-ordered residential rehabilitation as part of her sentence. She is doing well in the program and working hard towards long-term stability, but she is currently unable to manage the logistical or the financial aspects of arranging demolition on her own. Given her circumstances and in accordance with Maine's dangerous building statutes, we respectfully request that the town proceed with demolition directly and place a lien on the property for the associated costs. This will allow the unsafe structure to be removed promptly while giving my daughter the necessary time to determine her long-term plans for the property once she completes her rehabilitation program. In addition, we kindly request copies of all the documents the town has issued or received to date regarding this property, including any dangerous building determinations, inspection reports, notices, orders, or deadlines, any correspondence, hearing records or findings, and any contractor estimates or demolition plans that the town has prepared. Having these documents will help our family understand the process, ensure compliance with all requirements, and support our daughter in addressing these responsibilities when she is able. Our family is committed to cooperating fully with the town. We appreciate your efforts to ensure public safety while also allowing Andrea a fair opportunity to recover and manage these matters appropriately. Please let us know if the town requires any other documentation regarding her current status or if there are additional steps we should take, and thank you for your time and consideration, and that's from my husband, Kern, and I.
Thank you.
We did get estimates for demolition and disposition of all the debris, and I have that estimate here. We've gotten a couple, but this one was a little higher than the first one, so we figured that was probably more accurate.
I hate when that happens.
And we're trying to determine how to go about doing that. And we have a permit that we pulled from the town already to do the demo. So I understand you've already had discussion about this, and apparently
Well, and an attorney for the mortgage holder was here. I don't know if were you here when that was happening?
no,
You came in
apparently
after.
I just left because we've been trying to get a hold of the mortgage company
Okay,
too. So
okay.
it seems like maybe they're fast tracking it. I'm not quite sure. So we haven't been able to go, and have a discussion with them or anything. And Andrea's at the point where now she can. She's seeking lawyer help and all that. So,
Good, good.
so where are we from here? Is
Well,
that-
I think we'll discuss it, but we appreciate your comments. and
Okay. Is this something I can leave with you?
That would be great, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that
would
right
be
now.
appropriate. Over to
And
John. would
I
be-
thank you for letting me speak.
Yep, thank you for coming. And, we wish Andrea well.
I didn't leave my number on there, but I certainly will leave it with the office.
Okay, all right.
There you are.
Yep, and we wish Andrea well. Thank you. As I indicated when after we concluded the hearing, or in the course of the hearing, it looks like we have the opportunity to work with the lender or the mortgage holder to, at least for now, we don't have to make a decision tonight to declare it a dangerous building. We've had the hearing, which was the important thing, and we can postpone our decision until our January Select Board meeting, and on the condition and understanding that the mortgage holder intends to enter into an agreement with the town, that Andrew will work with them, in which the mortgage holder would commit to cleaning up the property, demolishing the buildings by the same March 31st date. So the neighbors will get what they were hoping for, and it keeps the town out of the lien position, which we don't want. We just want to make sure the right thing happens with that property. And then that would not leave the family any worse off. The property will get cleaned up, but then it'll be between the mortgage holder and Andrea.
Then Andrea would work directly with the mortgage mortgage holder? Is that how that would work?
Yeah, so
Okay.
through the to work with them on how, if there's an ability to forestall the foreclosure process, but that's an independent process from appointing the receiver. And that's the key thing, is getting the receiver appointed, because the receiver's the one who would then hire the demolition company and the folks who would clean up the property.
And pay for that.
And
They
pay
would
for all that
yeah.
out of those insurance proceeds that are in the mortgage holder's escrow account.
So Denise, just to clarify, is there an advantage to Mrs. Annis, who wanted us to go ahead and take possession of the property so it could be demolished? Is there some reason she would want that as opposed to the
I don't
mortgage
think so.
company?
I think it's the same process for cleaning up the property, and I think by us, my understanding is that by us declaring it a dangerous building, it puts us in a super lien position, so then Andrea's got 2 lien holders on her property, rather than just dealing with the mortgage holder.
And that's the original lien holder.
That's the original lien
As
holder
opposed
that's
to if
not
we take
creating a
it-
new lien,
It's a new lien.
yeah.
So she wasn't here for that discussion?
Right,
I
she
just
didn't
wanted to
hear
make sure she
that.
understood that.
But we won't be, nothing changes with us just agreeing to extend this decision until January, in the hopes that Andrew and the mortgage holder will, I say Andrew, the town, but working with Andrew, will reach an agreement where the mortgage holder, and we heard them represent tonight, that they would commit to that March 31st deadline.
I think postponing till January is the wise thing.
Okay.
Let some of this stuff kind of work out.
You need a motion on that, I think. Do you think, John?
Yeah.
Need a motion on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I tried some language, I don't know if it's readable.
maybe it's readable. Okay. So move to postpone the decision on the dangerous building determination until our January meeting with a commitment from the mortgage holder will clean property and demolish by 3/31, 3/30,
3/30, March 31st,
31st,
2026.
2026. So,
Second.
okay. So we're not making any decision, we're postponing that decision until
Right, but we
January.
also have a commitment from the mortgage holder that they are going to enter into a written agreement to comply with the March 31st, so we haven't delayed cleaning up that property from what was originally proposed in the dangerous building.
Can we encourage the mortgage holder attorney to talk to Mrs. Annis? Return her phone calls at least?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sure they'd,
I'm not sure where she went. but-
She left.
yeah, she left.
No, I know you're here.
Yeah,
You're
but
the
the
attorney
attorney-
left.
Andrew, do you have the attorney's information? Oh, you do now?
Okay.
Okay, great, okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. And that's a unanimous 5-0 vote. Great. All right, next is a discussion item, and this is the Rockport Common Project update. And we have the Lesher representatives of the Lesher Family Foundation here to tell us what's happening.
Yeah. Jeff, are we good on AV? You are so good. This one.
Ours is.
Ours is off as well.
There.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We're here tonight to give you an update on the project. It's been a year since the last update.
And you are?
Read my mind. I am Eamon Hutton, landscape architect with Tandem.
And I'm Kathy Blaha, a subcontractor working with Tandem on setting up the nonprofit who's going to help manage the park.
So we have a brief slideshow, some new stuff, some things that'll look very familiar, and then want to hear any questions and answer any questions that you have. We're very happy to have a community-supported master plan and design for the park. That's what you're seeing on the screen here. That, over the past year, really hasn't changed much. This is that same design seen from above. It's still a place for the community to come together with large, flexible open spaces, a performance pavilion, a field house, 2 playgrounds, a ball diamond, plenty of parking for everybody that wants to come and visit, from a little bit further away, out of walking distance. So much of it has stayed the same, and that's really because this past year we've spent working on, Kathy has been working very hard with the working group to build out the institutional capacity to help start the Friends of group that'll manage the park. And I've been working on developing the details that you can't see from 30,000 feet above to get us ready with design documents for bidding and contracts and all of those things. So it's been a very eventful year. Kathy, here we have a slide. Kathy will talk through 2025, but we've had a number of milestones since we started with the Lesher Family Foundation coming to you all in 2021 with this idea up through 2024, but you want to cover 2025?
Yeah. When we came to you last time, we talked about the fact that we had formed a working group of community members who volunteered their time through many long meetings to set up a new nonprofit organization to help manage the park. And that working group, I am proud to say, is still intact. We still have 14 people coming to the meetings and participating to help come up with a plan to manage the park. So we put together a very brief timeline just with some highlights of what has happened this year behind the scenes of while the design process is going on. So you all might remember back in March and April, we had a community-wide naming effort all over social media and in the news. People voted. We had tremendous participation, and we ended up with the name Rockport Common. So we are no longer calling it the RES Park site. It is now Rockport Common, thanks to the community members' vote. As a working group, we created a small action plan that said, what do we really want to do this year? And then got to work on it. We hired a new programming manager. Our first program manager, who I'll introduce in a minute, stepped down to take a new job, and we hired a new programming manager who came in with tremendous amount of energy and put together a whole set of activities which occurred over the spring and summer, and we'll show you those in a minute. We incorporated as a nonprofit. So we now have an organization called the Friends of Rockport Common. And that organization has a board of directors and an executive committee. And some of those people are here tonight. If you guys want to stand, Alan Mitchell's here, Kristen Johns, and Anna Sedaris. Anna is the chair of the executive committee for the Friends of Rockport Common. So we're officially organized, and again, folks are throwing their hat in to stick with this project. And of course, we had a groundbreaking in July with over 150 people, I think, who came to that. Big success. The Lesher Family Foundation and the town signed a grant agreement in September that laid out all the details of how their funding would work with the town to support the park. Eamon and his team put together construction bid documents to begin looking for contractors to construct the park. We have started working with John on a management agreement. We have a term sheet, working with a lawyer. And then Eamon separately is put together a team which includes Orion and Mike Younger, looking at an operation maintenance checklist to understand what exactly will need to happen in the park on an annual basis, who's going to do it, what it's going to cost, all of that. That will become part of the management agreement, which we're hoping to bring back to you first quarter of next year for signature. That will formalize the partnership between the new nonprofit and the town and lay out how we're going to work together. We've started a branding exercise, which will kind of give a look to all of the materials for the park. We're working with the town on signage. We'll have a logo, colors, and sort of a way to talk about the park. And that's a marketing and a branding exercise, and we should have that done, I think, by the end of January, we heard. So our next event in the park will probably be in March, or for the park. It won't be in the park. And by then we'll have, we'll look good. We'll have all the colors and all the logos. And then lastly, we're back here, as we were last December, to share again that things are moving along. We've got tremendous community support, and I think we're going to have a great partnership. So hopefully by this time next year, we will have had a ribbon cutting, and we'll be working hand in hand on a daily basis. So I want to, again, thank the volunteers. These are 3 of 14 people who were able to make it tonight, but they are really the backbone of what's going to keep this park working.
That's great. Thank you.
And thanks to the hard work of the working group, these volunteers here, and also Anna and Kim Kimball and their work as the programming leads for the park. We've had a lot of great events. Hopefully you've been able to come out and be some of the over 1,000 residents who have come out to an event like the soccer championship or Oktoberfest, or Battle of the Bands. Just some glamour shots from the groundbreaking here. It was a lovely event. As Kathy said, we had over 150 people celebrating the park. It was a chance to see the site model, which I understand has been up at the library as well. So you could sort of imagine yourself in the design and walk around it and picture the different spots.
So I kind of went through what happened this year, and I just want to preview what we think is going to happen in the coming year in 2026. So we have a nonprofit organization, and we have this small team, which has been with us now since the beginning. But we're going to really develop a board for that. And that means bringing even more new people on board to help us with all the tasks that are going to be ahead of the team. So there'll be some board development in the coming year. We'll finish that branding and a communications plan. And that's a lot about community outreach as well, community engagement. We're going to create a volunteer program. So there'll be a lot of work there with community outreach. We'll finalize and sign the management agreement and the operations and maintenance plan. We'll get construction started. Eamon's going to get bulldozers out on that site. It's going to look good. I'll let Eamon talk about our continued work with the town on securing land and water conservation funds, the federal funds that come through the state to help pay for parks. And then we're going to continue to do programs. And even though we're not going to be able to do a lot on site next year when construction starts, we'll be doing some things off site to kind of keep the momentum of what's going to happen at the park and demonstrating the kind of things that will happen at the park so that when we cut that ribbon, we'll be ready to go.
Great.
Talk dollars and cents, mostly dollars. The project budget at a glance has two categories of funding. The capital cost that you see on the left, that's the upfront cost of design and construction for the park itself, meaning I say that as the landscape architect. So all the outdoor stuff, the lawns and playgrounds, the landscape, and as well included under capital costs, we have the architectural design and construction. So that's the field house, the performance pavilion, and the shade structures. So those are our capital costs, making things out there in the real world. And then we have our O&M costs on the right, these two columns.
Operations and maintenance.
Yes, operations and maintenance, thank you. I'm Eamon Hutton, operations and maintenance. And that's funding in green for maintaining the park, keeping it in good condition, cleaning up trash, emptying out the trash cans, making sure it's safe. And then in yellow, programming and events. So that's having activities and camps and all of the fun things we can do in a park that require some scheduling and gear. That's programming and events. The funding for those is a bit different. The structure, now we're talking about how it's structured, not where it's coming from yet. We'll get to that next. How it's structured for both of those would be in an endowment. So a maintenance endowment would be a pot of $1.5 million, and the programming and events endowment would ideally be a $2 million pot. And with that sum of money, we'd be able to invest and annually draw 5% from each of those pots, and that would cover the real annual cost of maintenance, so or programming events. So if we look at the maintenance endowment, for example, the target is $1.5 million, and that lets us pull $75,000 a year out of that, out of the earnings of that investment to pay the $75,000 annual cost of maintaining the park. The same thing with programming and events. Having $2 million in that fund would allow us to have $100,000 each year from programming and events. They're different, not just in what they're paying for, but the maintenance endowment would be needed on day one. We need $75K a year to maintain the park. We can't start small and then ramp that up. It has the full cost of maintenance from day one. Programming is scalable. We could start with some fraction of that $2 million and just do less programming in the first year, and then add to the endowment and do more the next year. So they're a bit different in that way. Now, where's the money for these funds coming from? Let's talk first about LFF, so the Lesher Family Foundation's funding. They are covering the architectural design and construction, the park design and construction, and the maintenance endowment. So filling that maintenance endowment pot to 1.5 million, so that on day one, we can pay for the annual maintenance. If you'll recall, when we had the vote here in town, the gift that was voted on was the $3 million park design and construction gift. And in there was also a piece guaranteeing $500,000 going toward maintenance. At the time, it was phrased as a stopgap, to make sure that the maintenance would be covered, but it's $500,000. So that's called out here. So what's at that time was envisioned as 3.5 million. You can see now is $7 million gift to cover the park design and construction, the full maintenance endowment, and the architectural design and construction. So we sort of talked a bit about the architectural piece last time. As the design progressed, we saw the opportunity for these great performance spaces and a field house and restrooms. The family really believed that investing in that was going to be important on day one, so that's where we're at. These 3 columns are funded.
Amazing.
That's really so
Isn't
generous.
it?
Thank
It's
you.
Very,
Amazing.
very
Really
generous.
love-
How much of that is the land water conservation?
So, thanks really to the town for being a great partner on that LWCF application. So the Land and Water Conservation Grant, just if you need a reminder, is federal funding that states apply for, or towns apply to their state, and the state applies to the feds, and it funds recreation for public spaces. So the town has really been a great partner. Orion's been really supporting a lot of this. We got an application in for the maximum amount, which is a $500,000 match, so $500,000 from the federal fund coming toward this project. And we were approved at the state level, which is a major hurdle. So again, very appreciative to the town for supporting that, helping this project kind of go out and get that funding. So we still have to get through the federal approval process. We have a really strong application, and the state is really behind us on this. So, we're in as good a position as we could be at this point for that. So if that money comes in, and knock on wood that it does, that would be $500,000. It goes toward construction. That's part of how they sort of stipulate that funding. So that would go into the park design and construction bucket. Rather than, it's not that LFF would then sort of retract some of their gift. That, if we need to think about it as an offset, that money really goes toward the maintenance fund to make sure this is a great, well-maintained park. But that $500,000 would sure help, and it brings with it, and this is what voters voted on, it brings with it protections for this space. So you can't do just whatever you want, or, transform this park in a way that's not for the public good in the future. So it has real benefit beyond the funding that comes with it.
Great.
Then there's the programming and events endowment. And again, that's not needed on day one. It could be nothing on day one. Programming really breathes life into parks, so we believe in it. It's very important, but it's not essential. We could have a great park that's well maintained for a couple years and then get to this target. We don't have a specific timeline, but let's say in the next 5 years, we'd love to see this $2 million endowment fully funded to have a robust programming offerings at the park. That bucket is not full on day one, and it's really the mission of this Friends of Rockport Common Conservancy or organization to go out and pursue grants and donations to fund that. And as they're getting established, the Friends of group will really dig into this as sort of their number one priority, going out to find that funding, but also what is the policy around that funding. So someone writes us a $100,000 check, does it all go into programming events? Or does it all go into the endowment? Or is there some amount that's put toward an event this year to make a splash and show something great happening, and the rest goes into the endowment? That's going to be for the Friends of to figure out. This is the last slide. Looking ahead, the management agreement will happen over the course of the winter, and then construction begins February, March of next year on, most likely on the field house first, with the park following right behind it, and that's just that LWCF timeline where we have to wait. We can't hit go until they approve it. And then most of the summer and fall spent building this, with a ribbon cutting in the fall of 2026.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
Exciting.
that's very exciting. Any questions?
No?
Thank you for all the work and thought and care that's been put into this, and the extraordinary generosity. So we're
Yeah.
really excited about this project.
It warms my heart to present it to you, but obviously the generosity flows
Right,
back.
exactly.
I was
say
sort of
thank
speaking
you.
behind you.
That's right.
I think they've covered everything.
Do you want to come?
Yeah, come on up,
to the
Griff.
mic.
Yeah,
Come on, Griff.
yeah. That's where I was trying to direct.
No, I'm just, I will say, Linda and I are, and the foundation are thrilled that we've gotten to this point. A lot of effort has gone into this. I would like to think that 2026 is like the year of fruition. You know, we will build it and they will come. And so, after all this many years of effort, I think that it's now going to hopefully show. And so we truly hope we're going to build a great park for the town. And,
I have every confidence.
you know, so we're here back at, fully, so, and appreciate the select board's support in this effort, so, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you, Griff.
Thanks.
Thanks, Griff. Anything else?
No?
No,
Thank
that's
you all.
a very favorite agenda item.
It's heartwarming.
Iman, I have one question, though. It kind of looks like two donuts to me. Is that
2 donuts.
Oh, well, to continue our donut theme, huh?
continuing the Rockport donut thing?
Yes, yes.
Jeff, do I just violently yank these cords out from the side?
Pull them.
Yep.
Pull them right
So
out.
violent.
Go.
All right.
There you go.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thanks to the other volunteers who've been helping with all of this.
There's the organization and the thought process. and pulling all
Okay.
these pieces together is awesome. I wish I could get that clearly.
I'll let everybody sort of get rustled around. Bundled up. You going to survive this okay, Kathy? All right, next on our agenda is a discussion item, which we've entitled the Rock Road Trail Discussion. And I just wanted to introduce this, but I know we have some folks here who would like to speak as well. So it's been brought to our attention that the Maine DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, issued a permit by rule for a property that includes a trail that follows along the old Rock Road. And that roughly runs from, I guess, Lime Rock Street in Camden, behind the Midcoast Solid Waste Transfer Facility, or some people just call it the dump, and then goes behind the YMCA, then goes behind some private property along through there, all the way up to Lime Rock Street, the Rockport Lime Rock Street that comes up from the library. And that's known as the Old Rock Road. And it appears that a trail is located on the property that is both publicly and privately owned. It's various pieces of property, and there are various ownership interests in that property along the way. Whether and what Rockport may have had Title II in the area in the past is not clear. Our town attorneys have indicated a title search would be required to determine that at a significant cost to Rockport taxpayers. It'd be great if the pieces of land could be connected with trail licenses from each of the various landowners to allow the public access for the trail. And we're supportive of any efforts by the Pathways Committee or other interested parties to discuss with the landowners that kind of public access. Rockport tax maps show that we own one parcel of land behind the YMCA, and we would be willing to grant a trail license to that. We understand Midcoast Solid Waste recently approved a trail license for the area behind the transfer station. While some have asked us to step into the DEP process and use town resources and time to do this, we don't see a role for the town in the DEP process. The DEP's job is to protect the environment. They have laws, rules, and a process to do that in this situation. Rockport residents might not all agree on the approach here, as evidenced by the landowner who has applied for the permit and his neighbor who has objected. We believe it's best to allow DEP to pursue its process. On a big picture level, it's important for the town, its staff, and select board to stay focused on our priorities as we determine annually and as guided by our comprehensive plan. Otherwise, we ping-pong around, responding to the loudest voices, the new shiny concern, without regard to the big picture and what's in the town's best interest overall. In addition to the desire to have a trail along the Rock Road, which again we support, some have expressed concern about the potential for a housing development in that area. While we support additional housing in Rockport and was strongly supported by our voters in their recent approval of our comp plan, there is a separate public process for any housing proposals. Nothing has been submitted yet, and if and when something is submitted, there will be a public process to evaluate the proposal. But that's not something the select board has a role in. If anybody else wants to weigh in or make further comments before we listen to our.
I think you summed it up exactly.
That's very well stated. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is if there is to be development there, it will come before the planning board.
Correct.
That's right, not the select board.
Yeah.
Just to emphasize, I'm the liaison, as it is, to the Trails Committee. And we are supportive of maintaining the trail 100%. I just want to make sure, like, if there are mixed impressions that come out from the board or whatever, I just want to state clearly that we are supportive of maintaining a trail in whatever form it may end up being within our powers, you know, so.
I agree with you as far as the DEP permit, as well as the appeals. I think that's a good process to have so that it is looked at a little more closely and make sure the right thing is being done for all parties involved.
Now, is the question about the title search, how would that, if that were to be initiated, because I understand 16 to 20,000 is the number I've heard.
As an estimate, yeah.
Yeah.
And the deeds are, it's complicated, I think.
Because of such history and.
Yeah, and we got some information indicating, this has been attempted over the years, people are like, okay, let's figure this out once and for all. But the deeds are not that clear.
Is that the only thing we could potentially?
Well, see, the
If
problem,
it
we
was
don't
necessary.
need to own the land to allow
Right,
the folks who care about the trail to work with the landowners along there and get trail licenses. And a trail license is a little different than an easement, where you're requiring that the landowner give up a legal right to their property. They could get, and I think John's had some experience with getting, public trails created, and it's much easier to approach a landowner and ask for a trail license, which is basically, this is, we want to work with you. You can change your mind if it turns out you're not really very happy about being part of this trail. It's sort of a way to get people to agree to let the public have access, and over time realize, well, that's not so bad. It doesn't cause huge troubles. People, it's nice I can share my property. It's so much harder to have landowners give up a legal right to their property that stays forward in all time. But if you just ask for their permission to support the public for a trail, and we've heard indications from landowners along that area that they are supportive of letting the public use that trail. So I think we.
But is the bigger concern, from what I've seen and read, that this landowner doesn't really own the land in which he wants to do the work on? Is that fundamentally
No.
the concern, or no?
think so.
Okay,
No.
okay.
I think it's.
Because, I mean, I've seen deeds and all of that, so, okay.
And that's, again, something DEP can evaluate in their process.
Yeah, I think, if I can jump in on that a little bit, Denise, I've had a lot of experience with trails, particularly nationally, and one of the keys that pretty much everybody who's involved with trails development will tell you is you start with the landowners. You need to have their support going, before you go anywhere, before you go into anything about funding and maintenance, before you start recruiting volunteers. If you don't have the landowners, the property owners supportive of what you're doing, it just obstructs everything. It gets to be a problem and that will rear its head down the road. You're talking about any kind of a adverse possession conversation or eminent domain conversation. It immediately polarizes property owners, as you suggested. And I think this gets down to, is that really the way we want to be in this town? It's about how you treat your neighbors. I think handshake agreements go a long way. The Georges River Highland Trails is a great example of this. And you can accomplish a public access to trails without getting into the legal, without bringing lawyers into the room, basically. But once you do that, then you're kind of, the tail is starting to wag a dog, so to speak. I'm starting to sound like John. I gotta stop.
Sorry.
But I think it's start with the local landowners, the people that are affected most directly. Treat them like you would your neighbors and how you'd like to be treated in that conversation. And after that, it begins to get about property rights. After that, it gets to be about licensing. After that, it gets to be about the history or the greater good for the community. So I think it needs to be put in that order.
Great.
So.
Thank you. All right. Allison. And I won't make us go through a vote as to whether you can talk at a Rockport Select Board meeting.
I was wondering if you were going to do that.
We
I
don't
would
do
never do that
here.
to you.
No, you have done that,
You
but you
would
don't
do that
do
to us, but
Yes,
that's okay.
you have, but we don't do that here. So, sorry for that little.
Oh, well, we can.
Sorry.
I would just want the record to state, I like you all. And my name is Allison McKellar. I'm speaking only for myself tonight, just to be clear. I have a strong interest in.
Can you give your address?
Sure, it's 79 Mechanic Street, Camden, Maine. This has come across as both just as an interested person, a liaison to the Pathways Committee, a Midco Solid Waste Board member. I just want to make sure that you all are aware that there is a significant amount of research that has already been done, and that the Midco Solid Waste Board, as you saw from the document that I passed out, that was just the first page of that release deed. It was signed in 2001. That was brought to my attention by the former Midco Solid Waste attorney, who's also the attorney for the town of Rockport. In 1999, as you can see from the article there, after efforts to improve the trail failed, understandably, neighbors objected to paving and rollerblading and skateboarding and all kinds of things. And the agreement was made to not improve the road and to leave it as it was. At the time, nobody was suggesting that there was no right at all, just that it should be left in its current state. The town of Rockport at the time then realized, okay, we do need to kind of try to solidify these rights. As you can see, agreed to spend up to $5,000 to do that. That was in 1999. The Midco Solid Waste deed as being the owner of the former quarry properties, it says that Midco Solid Waste has the right to that road from the end of the quarry property to down to Lime Rock Street. I, as a Midco Solid Waste board member, one time thought, wow, this is great, we have these rights. Speaking with the Midco Solid Waste attorney at the time, who's no longer practicing, he said, he brought this to my attention, which was this release deed, where he said, no, all of those rights ended up with the town of Rockport. And so we have meeting minutes where that was discussed at the Midco Solid Waste meeting. Paul Gibbons came, said, Rockport would like to consolidate the ownership rights for a recreational trail. Would you release those rights that Midco Solid Waste has to Rockport? There was a vote. The vote was to release the rights for the purpose of a recreational trail, and then you can see the release deed in 2001. There are many, there are survey reports, there are various things held by Midco Solid Waste that I think would be extremely helpful to a Rockport attorney in evaluating this. So, of course, everybody understands why working with landowners for trails and all of that is how you start. But when everybody's survey along that corridor that identifies the Rock Road says status unknown, that has been flagged. And basically my point to you here today is that there is a lot of work that has already been done, that has already been paid for by the community, by the citizens of Rockport, by the citizens of the 4 towns, to understand the ownership rights around those properties. And it would be just great if you could look into those and pass those along to the Rockport attorney for a better maybe estimate of the legal fees. The other thing that I just want to say is that the cleanup of Lily Pond has been a decades-long endeavor that everybody is just so incredibly proud of. And if you read any of the reports associated with that, it's a very, very fragile ecosystem. And I want to say Midco Solid Waste has always gotten blamed for it being messed up. And I think we're all proud of the way it is. And so it's just concerning to see. I'm really supportive of your efforts with housing. I totally agree. All of that is very needed. But when a landowner begins an endeavor by doing something like removing the road in a wetland, it's a little concerning because it's clearly part of a larger project. It's not urgent, and there is time to settle this. The DEP process, sure, they can review that, but what they don't review is this title right and interest issue. It's not up to the DEP to adjudicate all of that. What I'm suggesting is that
DEP will protect Lily Pond. That's their.
Yeah, but when a Midco Solid Waste releases their rights to the town of Rockport, and I've never been able to find that those rights were accepted by the town of Rockport in any. I don't know if it's just if it gets filed with the Registry of Deeds, if the grantor can just do that without the grantee accepting. It was signed by the executive committee of Midco Solid Waste. And so I'm just trying to understand, and I think a lot of us would like to understand where the discrepancy is. So we go through this exercise. Paul Gibbons comes and says, hey, Midco Solid Waste has the rights to this road, or at least a lot of rights worthy of being transferred to Rockport. Rockport accepts and then says they have no rights. And I think just that part of it, understanding what that process was, if Rockport never accepted those rights, maybe they still lie somewhere else. But to give others the opportunity to assert those rights. So there is a lot of information that I think everybody would be happy to pass along.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Come on up.
Jeff Scott, Camden, 21 Ames Terrace. Anything else?
Nope, go, carry on.
It's a good start.
Yeah, name and address are good.
It's a complicated issue. There's a lot that, as Allison has said, a lot of people have tried to figure out what's going on with this history of transfers. Would there just a couple quick questions. Would the select board have to take a vote to accept
I
the
don't think we're
transfer?
going to get into tonight with the, I mean, I think our,
That's just a question.
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
All right.
I think our perspective on this is that it's not essential, and it may not ever be possible to come up with a definitive answer as to who owns what back there, that the deeds are complicated enough. There have been many attempts over the years to come up with a solution, but even Paul Gibbons said, I don't know how to interpret in the documents that Allison gave us, I don't know how to interpret some of this language. And I don't want to go have a back and forth on legal stuff in this context, but it doesn't matter, because if you work with the landowners, you can get that trail.
No, and I agree, and I admire Dave Getchell Sr., who did the Highland Trail. And I've, as being a member of the Pathways Committee, I have tried to save what I call unofficial trails a lot. And in towns, it's different, because one landowner changes, and there's no agreement. I mean, it's just a handshake. In the more rural areas, it's not as big of an issue because it's out in the back 40. But when it's closer to somebody's house, a landowner can just stop it. And unless it's a more formal agreement, which a trail license is only, it's not transferable. So the new owner comes along and a new agreement has to be made. And of course, you want everybody to be in agreement. That's the beautiful thing, if we could do that. Yeah. But what's pushing this right now is the permit by rule to remove the physical road,
Right.
which changes the dynamics of that trail.
Well,
Yeah, and
it's
that's
it's
the
not
DEP
removed.
process.
It's not, my understanding is the property owner that has applied to the DEP for the permit to remove the berm, I would call it a berm, it's not quite what I'd call a road.
It's pretty significant, John.
Well, it's significant, I'm not arguing it's not significant, and I didn't mean to diminish it in that way. But my understanding is he's more than happy to continue to allow access for the public to come and go. Is that not the case?
That's what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the road is removed, it'll become too muddy. It'll turn into a wetland.
But right
But
after that.
there's nothing we can do about that.
But right
There's
after-
nothing the select board can do about that. I'm thinking more further down the line about whether we can formalize on
No,
other
I-
properties. So at least, and this is not taking land from anybody. It's just a right-of-way. It's like a right-of-way for utilities. It's the same thing. Everybody still owns their land. It's just allowing a 10-foot path to people to walk on.
Well, to impose it in a legal way is a burden on the property and sort of.
Oh, it
legal.
is.
It
It
is,
is.
yeah.
Clearly,
And-
yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously, when you sell it, it comes with that burden.
Yes,
So That's
exactly.
the beauty of trail licenses.
Exactly.
So Jeff, right after the area that we're talking about on that Lily Pond LLC parcel, the trail drops down pretty dramatically into a rocky stream bed.
It's a culvert that has collapsed.
Culvert that's collapsed. So it's already breached, right?
That's right. That's the old culvert. That's where the water should be flowing, and it's not flowing through there anymore. The culvert was put in because that's where the stream was that ran along the person's property. And I don't want to get into the minutia here,
Yeah.
because it's not an issue. I think the town is done with this particular
I think we have
phase
to
of
let
it.
DEP go through its
Yeah,
process.
it's the DEP's things,
Yeah.
and we're working with the DEP to try to bring attention to the issues.
Yeah.
So is your concern, I'm trying to get clear on, is it the concern about the access, or is it concern about the physical character of the pathway?
The concern is that if you've walked in the field below the road, the rock road,
Yeah, I
in the
have.
mowed field, it gets very wet, and this will be also very wet. So people will be disinclined to walk across that, meaning it'll be too muddy. And and that's what'll happen. That's the concern. And as well as the concern for the runoff and how it changes it. And not understanding why placing a simple culvert in there wouldn't resolve this. So why do they want to remove the road? So that's just a question.
It's a question
who
I would
knows?
have too. I don't know if that
Yeah.
was ever even discussed or what the reason is that the people want to
Sure,
remove it.
sure. And I think it's also good to point out that the Rockport Pathways Master Plan includes wording that says that the long-term vision is for a path along this road, if you look at it. And I think that's part of the comp plan. It's referred to as part of the comp plan.
And
So
was-
it's in the plans, and it's also in the Camden Town plans, which is why in 2000, right around 2000, the town of Camden voted to acquire a piece of property over on Greenfields. That was a catchment basin over there. And they said, yeah, with the purpose of adding a trail that would access along the old road through the quarry. So that was the access point that had to be acquired. Otherwise, it would be all private property.
So the town of Camden owns the parcel right off Limemark Street now? Is that what you're
The
saying?
town of Camden voted to acquire it, and through perhaps administrative oversight, nobody ever executed the deed transfer.
So they don't have,
They don't own it, but the town voted to acquire it.
I'm so
So
glad
this
other
is-
towns have these same
this
issues.
is all clear as mud.
It's very messy.
So,
Yeah, and
go back to the-
theoretically, the person that owns that property is the, what is it, the community association, what is it called? The
Homeowners Association?
what?
Homeowners Association?
The homeowners association, which has since dissolved, so it doesn't exist anymore, so we don't know who owns the property. Anyway,
Well, maybe we can get a bargain rate on title searches.
they all, yeah, Greenfields, it's complicated too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John, were you asking a question?
I was, but I'll pass on it at this point. But
And we might have other people who want to speak too. I
Yeah.
just want to
yeah,
make sure.
actually, I do. The question I had was, the comp plan, what level of priority was this
Oh, it was long range.
long range?
Yeah,
Okay.
long range, it's not like 2 or 5 years, recognizing the very issues that we talk about here, how you have to get landowners to buy into it, and it's a slow process, and
Yeah.
you have to wait for the right time, et cetera. And
And again, I don't want to diminish the trail, this particular trail in any way. I just want to make sure we all have
perspective,
perspective and know
Yeah.
where the priorities are.
yeah. So just in summary, the Pathways Committee sees it as a priority, not a imminent priority, but something we want to focus on, which is, Denise, you mentioned about we don't want to jump around, but that's what the purpose of the master plans are, is to sort of put a flag or a star and say, this is where we're heading, and we want to keep an eye on that so that we're planning, we can head towards there.
Yeah,
and-
and we support Pathways in that effort.
Yeah, so the hard part is that it's messy. And it's messy unraveling this, and I don't know why. I just don't understand why. One other piece of information I want to share is that I have been working through the select board minutes from 1993 to look for a vote that says that you guys, that the town, because there have to be a formal vote for the town not to own the rights anymore. And if there was no vote, then I think that's pretty simple, that the town still owns the rights to that road. All right, thank you.
Cool, thank you. Is that Linda Clancy asking to talk? Come on up.
Is this as a committee matter, or is it?
I'm going to clarify this.
Okay.
I am going to be here as a reporter because I feel Linda Clancy, Rockport resident, but also writing articles, Penn Bay Pilot, and also co-chair of the Rockport Pathways Committee. But believe it or not, that is not high on my list with this one. With this one, I feel like I'm completing a circle going back 30 years or whenever that 1999 article was written. And it was really important to the community then who owns the rights to that. It's not a rail bed, it's an old road. And I wanted to ask you all, what is the cost of doing a title search? And I understand completely, you can go down a rabbit hole. I get that. But you also have a community that really cares about this road. And if the town does not make an effort, I think, to try to sort some of this out, it's not going to be a really nice thing at all. So do we have a price, John?
16.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a price that, for the title search alone, would be $16,000. That's an estimate. And then there'd be an additional surveying fees, somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000. So you're somewhere 25,000 ballpark. But that's,
And that's not to say that other entities couldn't decide that this matters enough. I mean, we have Legacy Rockport is now interested. It's not that we're opposed to, if there really is an answer, we're not opposed to finding it. It's just not all, I mean, obviously, there are people who, is that the best use of our money, I guess? And it's,
well,
I appreciate that there's a group that cares deeply about this, so I'm not saying that it doesn't matter to you. I'm just.
And I think Marcy sent you all a letter saying, hey, she could fundraise and see if.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be
And if that's
entirely
something
appropriate.
that the town could possibly, having lived here long enough, I know how things simmer. And if it's not addressed head on, I think it'll just be bad blood for everybody. So I encourage you all to think seriously about doing that.
I think right now we'll let the DEP process move forward. There's a lot of issues going on in this sort of mix here. We've got the DEP process, which is, something that is not our interest. I mean, of course, we want DEP to do its job, but we don't have a role in that. Then we have the issue of the pathway, and we're supportive of that and happy for our Pathways Committee to work with it's a Camden Rockport Pathways Committee and do that. And if there can be funds raised, that's great. And then we have the issue of the housing that some folks are concerned about, which again is not even.
Which is a whole nother issue.
Right.
And isn't
Right.
ripe at
But
this
the
point.
core issue is going back 200 years, or 150, wherever we're at,
Yeah.
does Rockport have a title interest in that?
I appreciate
That's the townspeople of Rockport that own that.
So,
Thank you.
Linda, as a member of the Pathways Committee, if you had $16,000 to spend on pathways, would this be the first place you'd spend it?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, no, I think,
Of all the pathways in
I mean, you wouldn't use it to actually improve the path. You'd actually use it on a
no,
legal
I'd
search.
find out who owns that particular section of that old rock road.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
anyway.
To clarify.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Linda.
Anyone else? Hi.
Hi, I'm Stephen Florimby,
I'm Sarah Price.
and we live at 132 Union Street in Rockport. And our property abuts the parcel that we're talking about.
Does some of the trail run through behind you as well?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
It does, it runs all the way from Linden Lane in Camden to Lime Rock Street in Rockport. And we're between there, too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that the town is kind of okay to let the DEP do their job. But at the same time, the property owner has directly told us that he intends to build a condo complex on that site. And removing the rock road feels like a step toward that goal. And it feels a little naive to think that somebody just wants to remove the rock road for, I don't know what. It sounds, anyway, I'm suspicious, and the the destruction of the road, this historic road, which I feel like is as important as the lime kilns in the harbor, if not more so. It's a great asset to our community, and the destruction of it is imminent, and without prompt action, we could lose this resource. And I would just hope that the landowner would be required to go through more rigorous permitting process to do something that involves the removal of such a huge quantity of material and change the landscape and remove a historic piece of property.
Okay, thank you.
Anything to add?
Yeah, you're correct that you do not have the authority to impact the DEP permit, but you are obligated to enforce the ordinances of Rockport. And Rockport has permit requirements for multifamily dwellings and cluster housing. This is part of a larger project. If you let this
Well, the
proceed-
landowner, once an application is made to the, I mean, there will be quite a process
It's
to
too
go through
late.
the housing.
This is imminent. The DEP process could take months or years. This man has gotten permission by going around. I don't know if he's gotten the permission from the town, but he has gotten permission to remove this already. This could happen tomorrow. Activity is already happening down there. You, I think, have the authority to put a hold on it, to make sure that he's gotten the permits from the town that are required, that he's not misleading you. Because the permit by rule says nothing about drainage. The permit by rule says, I want to remove an old railway bed to restore the land to its natural state. Now, we're all for wetland restoration. But to remove that structure, which is not a berm, that is a stone causeway. It's built of limestone.
It's a poor choice of words, Sarah. I apologize.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I
is.
want you to understand the magnitude of this project. And if it happens, we won't be able to get that back. That is the history of this town, and according to documentation that we've seen so far, it belongs to this town. And your predecessors put aside money to make sure that ownership was clear. Now, I don't know what the inflation rate is at this point. Whatever it cost, it doesn't seem that unreasonable to me when it is the legacy of Rockport. Now, I live right next to it. And by skirting our town's permit protocol, and the DP has already admitted that there are problems with their policies too. This is a flawed policy because it's made to let people who are actually restoring land have an easier time of it and not have to jump through all the regular hoops of a National Resource Protections Act application. But this man didn't have to because he claimed he's going to restore that wetland. But I very much suspect that he is not, because he has offered us a unit, the best one, next to the pond, if we exchange our property for that.
This is something I had not heard.
Yeah, this is all new information.
Well, I'm glad you're hearing it.
Well, I think you filed, a very capable appeal with DEP.
I want you to understand, you need to act. I think you can talk to your planning board chair who made us aware of these permit rules. I think you could enforce it. Could you? Just cause a moratorium immediately?
Jeff, do you want to jump in on that?
Well, we've got
question?
Orion here too. I think we ought to.
Oh, I didn't see Orion
Yeah.
hidden back there.
Yeah, I don't know if it might be more appropriate to have Orion comment on the town's enforcement of its permit. Jeff, if you could let Orion, first of all, comment on this. Sarah and Steve, are you done with your comments?
For now, I guess, we'll get another chance.
Well, I mean, for tonight, I'm just trying to. Okay, well, why don't we let Orion address the specific
I
question?
just want to point out that you
Okay.
don't know all the information. And if this is your fact-finding mission, wonderful. But don't make your decision until you have all the information.
Well, there isn't any decision for us to make. I mean, I think that's why this is a discussion item.
Understand your position.
And we're listening to the public.
I also just would like to point out too that this property owner has already violated DEP by digging a trench behind his 137 Union Street.
You should speak up into the mic so people can hear that.
This owner dug a trench on his 137 Union Street property to drain the bog or wetland behind that property. And the DEP was informed and he had to stop that action. I don't feel like this is somebody that we can trust to tell us, oh, I'm improving the wetland. That's
So,
not.
I mean, I guess the good news is, at least in that instance, the DEP, the regulatory process worked. The DEP stepped in and said, you can't do that.
Right.
And
But
they're
he's-
in charge at this point. I mean, I appreciate the concerns you have about the housing, and that will always be the dilemma, is housing.
No
But
doubt, but
we have a process for housing.
I get that, and he's not going through that process.
Well, he's not going through. He has not yet submitted a proposal on the housing.
But by that time, the Rock Road will be destroyed, and the hydrology of our property will have changed. Anyway.
Okay,
so
I
no.
appreciate the concerns.
That's important, Betty, we didn't address that, I'm sorry.
The boundary between our property and that parcel is a year-round stream. The DEP permit by rule permit that has been approved gives that landowner permission to remove that rock road right to the middle of that stream. Right now, that stream hits what used to be a culvert that has long, long ago collapsed. And when it hits that rock road, that limestone causeway, it just disperses. Now, most of the water tends to flow south, away from this parcel. And now this man has permission to just remove part of what essentially serves as a dam. And what will happen to that water? What will happen to our property when he digs up half a stream on it? What will happen to the property next, where water already goes? Will more water go that way? The property next, where more water goes there. There's an old quarry down there. The DEP has not even been to this site because the permit by rule doesn't require it.
Okay.
I think our permitting protocols would require that. And had they been in place, had they been recommended to this landowner, then our land would be protected. But it's not now. That's why if you saw the appeal that we submitted, we're requesting they actually do a hydrology report. We don't know if one's been done. That didn't even include a detailed project description. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But it's like whatever it takes to remove it.
It looked like a
It's
good
gonna
appeal, a good thorough appeal with the right questions, and it's in front of the right entity.
But it's
who
not
can-
real protection in the time that we need it.
Okay.
We need action. And I'm begging you to do
Well,
it.
I'd like to hear from Orion about the,
All right.
John, did you?
Well,
Okay. So I want to first begin that the landowner has been working with the town of Rockport on this project. And the reason I can point to that is the abutters were notified by DEP. So part of our process, if anybody's doing any work in the shoreland zone, which this project is within the shoreland zone, they have to go through DEP to get their permit first. Hence why the abutters were notified. The landowner received their permit by rule and has since received their permit from this office already. So they're now within the window after the permit by rule, so they could do the project at any point in time. So as far as my office is concerned, they have adhered to
They
all of
followed,
the steps.
they
within-
followed the town's requirements
within the
to,
town of Rockport's land use ordinance, yes.
okay.
So Ryan, can you comment a little bit? I mean, that, there's been an appeal filed against that permit with DEP.
Correct.
How does that work?
What's the
Will the
process,
DEP acknowledge that and just, just put everything on hold until it gets resolved? Will it slow down any of the removal of Rock Road? I'm not familiar with how that works, so.
In all honesty, I'm not familiar with how the appeals at DEP work either, but if they do find that, that there's an issue, the ownership issue, that he's probably gonna have to be required to put the road back if he does remove it.
That's what I've read, that it's
So-
at his risk. If he does something now, given that the appeal's been filed, that's at his risk, and he would have to replace it.
Correct.
Wouldn't be able to replace it in the shoreland anyway.
In this shoreline, yes, there's allowable work within that,
I
so.
missed that. What was that, Steve?
He was suggesting because it's in the shoreline zone, the 1400 overlay, that
They
work
can't
couldn't
put
be
it
done.
back.
And
Well-
it could be put back. This is in an allowable, buildable area. If it was
Okay.
in the red area of the 1400, then no, there wouldn't be any work that could be done. If that makes sense.
So it's, so, we're obviously getting pretty far afield. I know,
Very
Jeff,
much.
you wanted to, thank you, Orion, I appreciate the,
welcome.
the input on the,
Jeff Claire, Planning Board, but also a resident on Union Street, but I'm not speaking here as a resident on Union Street, I'm speaking for the Planning Board. As I've said, this matter didn't come before the Planning Board, it went through the town. They made the determination that it really needed to only go through code enforcement within the provisions of the shoreline zoning. Where I guess I would express caution to the landowner here is that the planning board is quasi judicial. We don't really have much ability to insert our own opinions into things. We read the text of the land use ordinance, we read the comprehensive plan, see if the proposal in front of us meets those things. If it achieves the larger goals that, or at least doesn't stand in the way of the larger goals that Rockport has expressed. Where we do have some leeway is in something that's been spoken of, but hasn't been officially presented to anyone, which is if this is going to be dense housing, the planning board has the authority to say, yes, you can get additional density, or no, you can't, based on whether you're doing things that benefit the town. And one of those things is the interlinking of trail systems, the availability of public amenities, and there, low-income housing. There's any number of things that we can say you can get an additional unit for that. We also have the authority to deny it and say you basically can go buy our land use tables. That's all you get. So I feel a bit of caution for the landowner here because you may be going against your own purposes. You may be starting off on the wrong foot. The planning board has 7 members. We each have our own opinions on this matter. I'm not expressing my opinions on it, but the other 6 fellows there may say, you are removing something that is a historic piece of Rockport. You're removing a trail or a possible trail interconnection. We're just going to say no. So that's where I'd like to just express some caution and say, if these earth movers are imminently to arrive on that site, that maybe you ought to think about this for a little bit.
Just a question, without I don't know the depth of the property, et cetera, but without removing the road, could the owner still build there? Is there still density to be able to?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a certain portion of the lot, it seems about half of it is outside of the shoreline zone, just because I looked at this
Well,
one.
right, but I
But
just
half
wanna-
of it is. The road, Rock Road is entirely within the shoreline zone, entirely, actually even within the buffer of the shoreline zone, which is a no-build zone.
So, I want to preface that I don't have any application
Right,
before.
right.
So he does have interest in doing something at some point if it's financially feasible for him. What that is and when that is, I do not know. So,
So you're admitting that he has revealed that he wants to build there?
I think a lot of people who own land want to build on
Right, I
it.
mean,
We've had
that's
many
the-
people throughout town who have housing projects that
There's
never
many
come to pass.
Thrown out.
He hasn't proposed anything yet.
Yeah. Okay, I want to make sure everybody, oh, go ahead,
I have a
Ken.
question for Orion.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'm not familiar with that section of Rock Road.
Sure.
Is there another option to help with the drainage other than removing it? Between fixing that culvert or,
Yes, there are. The landowner has asked if they could put in a culvert, so they have toyed with that idea. They have decided in the end with their land that they wanted to remove the road. So that is their option. I have discussed with Lynx with the landowner of potentially putting in a culvert to make that drainage better, but they have opted to remove it. They could change their mind last minute, but right now that's the course of action they're pursuing.
All right. Next. Make sure you guys get a
I'm Wendy
chance.
Zwecker, I'm a Rockport resident.
Okay.
I don't know what your role was again.
Sure, I'm the Planning and Development Director.
Okay. My question is, why wouldn't you want to know if you own the road or not? And have someone remove, why wouldn't you want to do an appeals just to understand who owns this road? So that if it's taken down, it's in shoreline zone, it'd be very difficult to rebuild it. But I would want to know if it's my road or not, if someone's applying to the DEP to take it away. Like what you were saying earlier, Michelle, that's my concern.
Well,
Like,
when I've
shouldn't
read-
we know who owns this before someone's taking it down? Wouldn't you be upset
It's
if
been
the town of Rockport
unclear
owned it?
over the years, despite best efforts to sort this
But
out.
I would want to do the research, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's in everyone's best interest to understand that ownership, because what if you find out the town of Rockport does own it and it's taken away?
And sometimes in land ownership questions, especially with muddied deeds, there's not always a black and white answer. And I'm not,
But you can get to, I sell real estate, we do deeds all the time, and we
Sure.
do that. And I just think it's, like,
I appreciate the
pause,
perspective, yes.
breathe, and see who does own the road before this kind of, goes through that
well, and I think
process
we
in
have
a
to
way.
think about to what end? If the point is to get a trail developed there, and if the landowners work, and we don't
To
need
me,
to
it's
argue.
more like who owns the road. Like if he builds a development there, that's, he bought the piece of property. But I think this road, it's a historical thing. There's long-term goals. Like, do you own it or do you not? And why if you own it, don't let someone take something away that's owned by the town. I just think you should, why is it being raced through? Why can't you just pause and do the research, and then if you don't have rights to it, then have that discussion after the fact. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So my name's Sam Zwecker. I live at 148 Union Street, and my question does come back to, like, has he applied for the correct permit? There's no doubt in my mind that there is development intentions, and I know this because I abut another piece of property he owns, which he was trying to split into 2 lots, and I know Scott Bickford several years ago when he first bought it, when he was a code guy, told him he could not split it into 2 lots. He went to my neighbor Susan to try to buy like 100 square feet so that he could split his lot into 2. So there's just zero question in my mind that he wants to develop. And the question is since that seems fairly certain to us all, that how come he hasn't applied for the correct permit through the DEP?
Well, I don't know about the correct permit. I hope he does develop. I'm not, I don't want to impose, I think something that Rockport struggles with on so many levels is housing. And we
100%.
all want it. I totally appreciate concerns of neighbors to want the right kind of development and something that, and that's what our planning board process is all about.
Yeah, but what's he's done this quick DEP process, said he's not going to develop. So then he comes back a year from now and says, oh, I'm going to build this big development. What's the recourse? Is there any recourse to say, well, you didn't apply for the right permit if you wanted to develop it?
That's just what Jeff just walked us through.
Yeah. So
Thank you. Yeah.
The planning board would take it up at that point.
Yep. Thank you. Hi.
Rob Daniger, I own 13 Simmons Road, and it's actually, I think, one of the largest sections that the Rock Road goes across. I'm going to kind of pile on, but maybe from a different standpoint, what people have said. I think kicking the can on ownership of that land, that can't happen. I'm paying taxes on the land. So if the town owns the land, I'm paying taxes on something
That you don't
I
own.
shouldn't be paying taxes on.
Yeah.
And you said you hope he develops. I hope he doesn't. But
I understand.
I can't do much about it.
Yeah.
But I certainly hope that he doesn't develop on what's wetland now.
Right.
And we're looking to change that. So if the Rock Road moves, I'm very concerned that the definition of what's wetland changes and that protected
Right, and there will
area
have
that's
to be
been that way
evaluation.
for centuries changes. And we said there's an appeal. I appealed it as well, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
Whatever, so there's at least
Two
of
appeals
those
going on,
there.
great.
And this notion that he'd be required to put it back, I know how big developers work. He's not putting it back if he takes it down. You know, we could wake up tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and he's plowing that thing down, and it'll never come back. So I kind of, what's my ask in this? My ask is that the town not just say, well, it's in question, we can't sort it out. It can't continue to be in question. You know, it's very public
Yep.
that it's in question. If I own it, great. If I don't own it, that's a fact. I can't do
Right,
anything
and
about
did
it.
your title company-
It can't, what?
Did they raise any issue when they gave you the deed?
No, I mean, just like,
Yeah.
Saminsky and Lily Pond Partners, I have a clear title to it. There's no easement there,
Right.
but if that's not the case, the town is aware
But wouldn't
that
they
this
have
may not be
found
the
that
case.
See, that's
through
what I
your-
don't
that's-
understand about the whole
It
thing.
refers to a survey, there's a survey that refers to, that has the Rock Road on it, it says status unknown, so.
Yeah, status unknown, but they're issuing, warranty deeds. I mean, that's a pretty
Maple
significant.
Solid Waste has a warranty deed that says that it is, that Maple Solid Waste has rights to it, but.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, I guess the question, is the town gonna continue to just kick the can that ownership is unclear?
Well, at this point, we'll have to discuss it more. We'll see if anything was done with $5,000 in 1999. I think
Well,
that's,
I mean, honestly, what can we do? I mean, what is our recourse? I
and
don't
what's
know.
the result? I mean, then
Right.
we just tell you, oh, sorry, you didn't get the land you thought you were buying. You've now got
Well, then there will be a massive, you
Lawsuit.
have to unwind
Unwind it.
decades worth
everybody
of taxes.
throughout that whole area.
You know, I'd like to stop paying taxes on something if I don't own it.
Right.
You know, if there's an area
Is
I
that the
don't
best use
control,
of
then someone-
Rockport
I'm gonna weigh
taxpayer
in on
money to
what-
find out that other
that's behind my
taxpayers
house
don't
if
own
a
their
trail gets
property?
built on it, but if I do own it, then I can say, I like this idea, I don't like that idea.
Isn't there already a trail on your land?
There's a path people walk across, but there is no documented right-of-way on
Right,
it. There's
but-
no, people have said, well, I think there's a public way, but
Do you
is there a
obje-
public way?
Well, do you
that
object
I'm
to the
aware of.
people using that path? I mean,
No,
okay.
no, and I don't think the previous landowner did, and I don't, these guys don't, and I don't think anybody does, and very much in the interest of keeping
I
it
know,
the
and
way
that's
that
what
it
we've
is.
heard from everyone, is
But
that they're,
what we've
op-
heard now is the way that it is, which is, there's a path that people are allowed to walk across, that it's privately held. Well, maybe it's not privately held, or maybe there's a public easement. A public easement is something that the town would have, so what's the town's position on, is there a
there's
public
no
easement?
evidence that we have anything like that. So
But
this
does
is,
that mean there isn't one, or we're just gonna kick the can and nobody
well, we can
knows?
spend a lot of money to tell landowners, and I'm not even, I think as a lawyer myself, I have seen title opinions that don't make a final opinion. I mean, there can be doubt, and you can say, well, these are the deeds that support why we think the town owns it, these are the reasons we don't think the town owns it, and you just spent $20,000 of your taxpayer money to be up in the air. And if really the goal is to get a path through there, it doesn't matter.
Well, then release the rights back to
Yeah,
them.
wait,
just as they
how
release
does
the
it not
rights to
matter?
you.
Because you can get a path without needing to prove town ownership.
You can't, because you can't put a path across there if I say you can't.
Well, not if you say no, but if you're willing to
But if
grant,
the town owns it, then then you can, and I'm like, I can't affect it, I'm okay with it
Yeah.
either way.
Either way,
the
but then
notion-
you'll want your tax.
But I am being harmed by the notion that it's unclear.
Yes,
Like
okay.
there's direct harm. If I put the property on the market tomorrow,
Well, there's nothing in your chain of title that is
there are articles in the newspaper that say it's unclear. I mean, really, you're a real estate agent. It
Yeah, but
would
if you're
affect the
granted
value
title
of my land.
insurance, well, we're getting
I'm
far
funding
afield
this.
on this, but I appreciate the comments.
Yeah, and again, I'm very much in the interest of keeping the status quo. I
Right.
respect everybody's own, land ownership rights. I want to see condos go up there. And it will make a lot of noise if it looks like what happens is condos are going up.
Well, and
What was a
that,
wetland
there's
before?
quite a planning board process, so there will
Yeah,
be opportunities.
Anyway,
So-
my ask is clear, though, that the town not continue to kick the can on this.
So can we talk about process, because the permit, my understanding, has the DEP
It's in
process
DEP's
going?
hands right
It's in DEP, so can that landowner not do any work on that right now while it's in DEP's process?
No,
Or-
traditionally, permits by rule, when they're under appeal, just as
Thank you.
if we had a building permit, right? If we
Yep.
issued a building permit and the landowner said, boy, they shouldn't have got that building permit, they should go to the ZBA. Until that hearing's held, the decision's held, there's findings of fact, the landowner or the person holding that permit has the ability to they still have the permit until they
Okay.
don't have the permit. So but
they could do anything.
buyer
But it's at their risk.
beware,
Right.
right?
It's at
And
their risk.
You're at their
Yeah.
own risk.
It's at their risk, okay.
So there's that issue to deal with. Now, I understand there's 2 appeals, right? So there's 2 aspects to that, how the Board of Environmental Protection wishes to handle that. That's certainly, a different dynamic in the mix. You haven't heard a hearing date, I assume, from either appeal? Okay, so head shaking no.
Okay.
So they do have a period of time when they have to act.
So he has the permit.
Yes.
The appeal is in process, and with a permit, he could, if he wanted tomorrow, do whatever he wanted.
Yep.
Does the town have any ability to enjoin, to put a cease and desist on it and just stop it? And what would that be?
Well, I'd have to see what permit Orion,
That's what I'm
any
trying to
permits
figure out.
have been issued by the town on the property are what?
Just to do the excavation.
We've issued a building permit on that basis, based upon the permit by rule issued by the Maine DEP.
Just a couple quick things. There's not only an
Come to the microphone, Jeff.
Yeah,
Come to the
Jeff, go
microphone.
on.
I do want to hear what you
Just to
have.
clarify a couple things. There's not only 3 appeals, but there are also stay requests. An
Right.
appeal,
There you go.
the BEP says 5 to 6 months on an appeal. A stay is rushed. And
Yes,
there's also
and
a
that's
request
been
for a stay.
in front of them, yeah.
Minor request for a stay.
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff,
Thank
what
you.
was it? A stay is, what did you say?
Yeah, can you tell
A
me the
stay
difference?
is hurried along. It means we
gotta
will
make
look
a
at this
decision
issue
fast.
fast.
Fast track.
And if that occurs, then the permit is not valid anymore, that you can't do the work on that. And what's being requested is a full NRPA, Natural Resource, NERPA review, which could take like a year.
Yep.
And the idea is, let's slow this down. Let's see whether these issues really are issues or not. And give everybody a little more time.
How
That's-
quickly have you seen a stay go into action?
I asked the question of the BP executive person, and they said maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
So that's already been some time past now since.
2
we
days.
filed.
Well, no,
No, but
When did you do your stay?
the 3rd.
it was last week.
So a
The 3rd
week
was,
ago.
Yeah.
Rob? 2 days ago,
I didn't
okay.
know it was an option until 2 days ago.
Okay.
But I think there was a stay request in the original
3 or 4
appeal as
days,
well,
maybe,
that Sarah and
max.
Mike, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Great.
back to your question, John, which I don't know if we got an answer. So is there anything that we could do so that work couldn't start tomorrow while this DEP, through the stay and through the appeal process, works out?
Yeah.
And I don't know who can answer that.
Can we get a not depends answer, please?
I can't,
Permits, I mean.
Thank you.
yeah, I can't answer that. I'm not sure what that process would look like. You've issued a permit, how do you,
How do you take it back?
yeah. That doesn't
And we
mean that
did
there
it in
isn't
the law.
valid momentum and understanding of what you're
And
saying.
you still have the DEP process.
Right.
Right.
Which is really about protecting Lily Pond.
Yeah.
which
And
is
not to
important.
mix the issues, but the ownership issue, they're integrated, but they're also separate as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
You
why
know,
I'm
and-
just trying to figure out what are
Yeah,
all
the
the
ownership
options that
issue
we
won't
have.
resolve the DEP questions.
Right.
And I think we should figure out if anything happened back in 1999, if we can find records of any of that to see if work was done.
Would abutters have gotten notice of the town permit being issued?
Not the permit, the planning board applications.
So,
And I think we need to really look at our permit process, because my rights as a property owner were not protected in this process by the planning director.
okay.
You keep saying, oh, this is gonna go to the planning board. No, it's not. Some things don't go to the planning board.
No, the housing development would go, whatever housing proposals for that property would go to the planning board.
But this planning board is aware that is connected to a housing proposal. It hasn't been submitted
No.
yet.
But you can't,
They're two separate processes. I mean, I appreciate the concern that everybody has, and I mean, I know it's deeply felt, and I'm not trying to, we're just trying to stay on task with what we can do, what our role in this is. And I think, I know one concern is the potential development of the property, and that is something that the planning board, and there will be abutters. I also appreciate that there's this concern with the with the particular DEP permit by rule. Well-written appeals have been filed, they're in front of the DEP. We can maybe do some of our own internal thinking through, working with our town attorney about what opportunities we have in this process, in the sort of what we can do to help the Rock Road situation. But I think the landowner, legally, and I understand practically you're concerned that by replacing, that he can't really replace the Rock Road, but legally, that's the remedy, is if the stay is not granted in time and he does the work, he is obligated under the law to replace what he tore down. Now, what that process actually looks like and what level, putting the actual limestone back in place that was there rather than some other form of barrier, and you get into the issue of protecting the drainage versus the historic nature of the limestone that's there. So it's tricky, and we appreciate that. So I think we've heard from everyone. Have we? Are there other folks who want to?
Is there an appeal process for town permits?
Okay. Do you want to come up, Ryan?
tell
and-
us what that is.
Yeah.
'Cause I'd be interested to know too.
While we're waiting for Ryan, I just want to leave you with one more thought, because I've been so bogged down in the details here. I want to emphasize that I believe that this is not super complicated, that you don't have to go back into all the deeds and look at all this, because the rights were transferred to the town in 2001. Unless there was a vote by the public that denied those and released them by the community of Rockport, and there'd be a record of that. I have not found it. It doesn't have to go back into the minutia.
Well,
because it's a
meanwhile, we
big
have
picture.
landowners receiving good clear title to their property with no mention of this, who have said, okay, well, then I'm going to want to unwind all my tax payments. I'm going to, you can see
Yeah,
the
and
morass
for
it
clarity,
creates.
this is not a land ownership, this is a right-of-way. All we're talking about is an easement, so it's just
But it
saying.
would need to have been reflected in the
And it
deed.
could reflect on the taxes, I don't know, I don't know that.
So, more to,
Just so it's in the microphone, it's short. In the land use ordinance, chapter 700, there's a Board of Appeals section. So that will outline how you would submit an appeal.
okay. And what's the time frame from that?
30 days?
30 days from the day that the town issued the permit?
And when was the permit issued?
I'd have to
Okay.
pull that up.
Well, it would have been 30 days ago, because you
I
guys,
never knew it.
no, you guys were notified, and then you filed your appeal within.
Of the
that 30
DEP
days.
permit.
No, this is all the DEP. This is not the town of Rockport.
Correct.
Well, when did they get the?
Correct.
okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'd have to pull that up.
Because you issued the town permit presumably after the DEP permit by rule, because it was a follow-on from that.
But you didn't notify the abutters that you had issued a town permit to have that
Uh,
permit.
Right,
For
which is
building
not required.
permits, building permits is not required to issue
Yeah.
a notice. For planning board applications, it's required. And because this project was located in the 1400 overlay, that's the only reason you were notified. If this project was outside of the 1400 zone, you would not have been notified.
DEP would not have notified them.
Don't they,
But they can appeal. The town permit is what you're saying?
That's what Orion's saying.
don't permits have to be posted on the job site?
Correct.
Okay, so there is some.
There's
level
notice of the issuance.
Notification that's required. And was that done in this case?
Well, it hasn't been done yet, no.
All right, well, that's interesting.
Because they haven't started the work.
What's that?
But the posting is for doing the work, it's not.
Yeah.
It's to just demo, if they start going, if they start work out there, they need to have posted the permit for the work.
Oh, okay.
And why was drainage not part of the permit? Or was it?
I'd have to pull the permit to give you all that detail, but he pulled for an excavation permit.
Can you pull it?
Not at this meeting.
Not, yeah, I think we'll follow up
I mean,
whether,
if you,
Permit with the town, but a restoration permit with DEP. Is that true? I think we should.
so, we've heard some concerns, we'll do some investigation on our end, and we'll go from there. Yes, come on up to the mic.
She gets to ask the question Linda wants to ask.
Two questions, I guess. What's the timeline on you working on this, and when the gentleman has his, or whoever it is, that it's the landowner, has a permit, that tonight he could go out and start digging at the road?
It's been that way already, so,
It
and
is,
and
but
if he
what's your-
does,
What's your timeline on getting this to
Well-
discussion, or looking over the appeals, or trying to find the titles, or whatever, do you have?
we're not taking any action on title tonight, we're gonna look into some of the information we've received, and we'll work.
So all
It's-
this might be
holidays are
moved-
coming up, as I indicated.
And also, how did he go to DEP?
He filed an application with DEP for the permit by
application
rule.
was to restore wetland?
I don't know the details of that particular
Because he
permit.
didn't
but-
have to get any
I-
other sort of,
So we will do
information?
our best, we hear the concerns.
well.
You might
it's
be
beyond the
surprised
concern.
that,
So we've got a guy who has said he's going to restore wetland, when really he's going to develop. So he got his permit from DEP, which is going in around the back door, not very, ethical way, and then got a town permit to build?
There-
Not to build.
Or excavate, or
to do the
whatever?
work that is required under the DEP permit by rule.
So it just seems a little bit,
Well, there are a lot of ways to sort of decide how you want to interpret this.
Can you pull that permit right now?
So, please, we appreciate everybody
Anyway,
coming, we
that was-
appreciate the
it's
public
starting to
comments.
sound
We are listening to you, and
little
we'll
bit
parse through what we've heard and figure out what information we can develop on our end. That's all we can do in this moment.
thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Come on up to here.
This is just a point of information.
If you could provide your name and address.
My name is Sue McDonald. I live at 13 Simmons Road.
Okay.
I am concerned that my neighbor who wants to know what's in the permit from the town and what the procedure is to appeal that, because she's been told that it can be appealed, has not received clear answers to that this evening, nor a commitment to give her that information by tomorrow.
Well,
which
I don't know
think
about by
she's
tomorrow,
owed.
but Orion, what's a reasonable time?
700 of the land use ordinance has the outline of how to do an appeal.
And what's the time when, what she needs is the date that our
Right.
town permit was issued. And what date was that issued?
The 7th is when the DEP gave the permit.
I appreciate that, but that's not the permit we're talking about.
Yes, I
Yeah,
understand, but it was after that.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, today's the 8th. So is that something Andrew can provide tomorrow, Orion? Okay, to Sarah Price? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Anybody else who hasn't spoken and wants to? Okay, thank you, everyone. I know it's deeply held views and convictions, and we'll do our best to find some answers. All right, next on our agenda are the liaison reports. Let's see, John, you want to start down this way? And
You want me to go?
yeah, why don't you go? Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit. Liaison report for the Mid-Coast Council on Government. I shared some of this information, I think, with John. We had they had their annual assembly out at Owl's Head Transportation Museum. Ryan and I attended. It was really, I think, really well run as far as the organization of Mid-Coast Council on Governments. And I just had a few takeaways that I thought I'd just share briefly with everybody from some of the
Excuse me, we're still conducting our meeting if you want to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Some takeaways generally from some of the workshops and conversations, and I'm not expressing an opinion on some of this, I'm just offering it for the good of the group. One was an interesting thought that some towns recognize the loss in housing caused by numerous longstanding vacant properties and have successfully implemented a dormant housing penalty to encourage owners to either sell or begin renting property. And I think we can all think of a few properties in town that have sat for a long time.
Yeah.
Usually it's probably something like an estate, not being resolved, and it goes on and on. Okay. Another one takeaway was short-term rentals are clearly one of the many factors in the housing shortage mix based on the conversation throughout the day. Some towns support development of longer-term housing primarily through fees assessed on short-term rental operators. So I know that's not a Rockport thing, but it's an interesting notion of creating incentives for longer-term housing. Something I had as an aside was Mid-Coast Council on Government has a lot of data from towns. They've got how many members, John? I don't know. 50 or something?
Yeah, every community in Knox, Lincoln, Waldo, part of Saginaw, and the top part of.
Okay. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And they get all the data from these towns. They've got great research capacity among their staff, and I'm just thinking, could they help inform our budget process in this conversation that we're currently having of right-sizing, what we spend on roads, what we spend on police, fire, blah, 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 when we compare it to towns similar to our own, and that MCOG would be a great place to go for that data. Especially relevant in one workshop was an illustration that used a formula for prioritizing road work and maintenance based on the return on investment, which seems pretty timely for the conversations we're currently having in the budget discussions. Basically, it's just calculating the cost against the assessed value based on current and then potential future density. And, they gave some good examples in the slides that they gave of how they did this, where you could kind of look at it and say, well, do we choose this road over here or this road over there based on, how soon we'll begin to see a return on the investment come back in assessed values, which of course means tax revenue. So I like that, that approach as a way to, I don't know if we currently do anything like that in our budget process, John, particularly as it relates to, say, roads.
No, but ironically, the density, the road that they used was a project that I was involved in back when I was in Newcastle, way back when.
Oh, so it's all your fault.
It was my fault. Well, actually, the payback kind of lines up with the process, but anyway, we got to the right result in the end.
Well, good, you're familiar with it then, so. There also was an emphasis on the housing shortage with some really great hyper-localized data on the housing gap. What they did was interesting, was based on income and demographics, and it's right there for all of Rockport. So they've hyper-localized their data, which I think would be really informative for some of the things we're working on. I'm happily share my full notes with everybody else on the select board if you'd like to look at it.
That's great.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Another liaison report I have is on the comp plan implementation task force. So our chair of that task force is here, Bob, and he's done some great work and provided really great leadership. So thank you for that, Bob. As you recall, they're past their initial phase of divvying up the goals of the comp plan to the various committees and task forces. And now each working group is going to review their goals and affirm or revise the timelines for completion of the goals. And hopefully this will provide some good guidance to the town as we kind of set our annual work plans and budgets and capital investment over the long term. Cover everything, Bob? Yes, sir. Okay. Planning board, this month's planning board meeting isn't scheduled until this week because we combine November and December meetings due to the holidays, which is something we do fairly often. But we expect this meeting to be brief since there are no applications. But Jeff Leclerc, our hardworking chair, he's going to transition the meeting into a workshop in order to review the ordinances and discuss amendments to the land use ordinance to better support the goals of the comp plan. So he's off to the races doing exactly what the implementation task force wants him to do, and appreciate your leadership on that, Jeff. So that's it for me.
All right, thanks, John. Kim?
Well, my notes are not as neat and tidy as yours. Harbor Committee met last month, and they went over the 2026 work plan. A lot of the same old, review the fees, bylaws and ordinance review. They'll also be taking a look at the float storage configuration after the new placement this year, see how that all works out. Do more collaboration with the Harbor Implementation Task Force. And in fact, I believe they talked about inviting Bob and Bill to the January meeting. I don't know if that's been done yet, but that was going to be one of the things on the list. And also communicate with the VPI task force, because that will have an impact on float storage and all things harbor related.
With the bridge in particular.
Hmm?
With the bridge.
With the bridge, yeah. So I think Sam is probably going to be reaching out to John if he hasn't already.
Nope.
At some point.
Okay.
To get an update, or with Orion on the VPI plan, just to see kind of where things are at, just so they can plan accordingly, because it will be a challenge, because space is already tight down there on the waterfront and under the bridge, so it's gonna take some creative planning going forward when the project actually gets started. There was discussion on Holiday of the Harbor. Abby went over some of the costs. The big costs are the permitting and the big mortars for the fireworks, and some money for the luminaries. And she's got a handful of food trucks coming down there, and also listed some opportunities for fundraisers, small groups that could sell hot chocolate or bake sales, that sort of thing, because it's actually
Big event, yeah.
not enough food stuff down
Yeah,
there
for
for
all
the
the
large amount of people,
Yeah.
and the lines for hot chocolate are long, and then they run out. So I did reach out to one group, so there's one hot chocolate group down there. And I know Abby was working on that. And then the other discussion, and this is a bigger discussion, but, so in the winter months, Abby does work with the ski patrol in Camden, so there's some time sharing and cost sharing, and I've got to look into a little bit better procedure for that, so that's a discussion for another time with her and probably John, and figure out how that's all gonna work well, so she can still do the ski patrol while her duties are not as much in the winter time. She's still got mooring billings and stuff to work on in the winter, but it was actually a pretty brief meeting, and next one is January 21st.
Let's see, Harbor Implementation Task Force is reaching out to other groups, so I think that'll work well in January to be talking with the Harbor Committee and work on all the details in that plan, both figuring out where the money comes from, working on some of the more immediate projects, which might be some of the floats in the harbor that are part of the bigger picture, and really just sort of starting to coordinate and organize with the various stakeholders. Great news on the fiber front. So we have our Midcoast Internet Development Corporation, which has been working since pre-pandemic. We thought initially the goal was to convince people that we really wanted fiber in Rockport. And the pandemic took care of that. Everybody understood the difference between having a quality internet connection and not. Unfortunately, over the years, we've had sort of portions of Rockport are now being served by different fiber providers. So we have Fidium coming up from the Rockland Telephone Exchange, which provides service to Eastward and some of the developments on the southern end of town, and we've had Otelco, but they go by a different name now, coming in from the Camden end. But our own Axiom, who has worked with us for a long time and is really a very successful provider of fiber service to small towns, just like Rockport, is going to help us avoid the donut situation that was starting to happen, not to overuse the donut analogy, but it was starting to be that Rockport was going to get cut out. We had already been told by the big providers they were not going to bring fiber into Rockport beyond what they had already done. So residents in sort of along Pascal, Union, Amesbury Hill, C Street, some of the more concentrated, denser areas of development should be getting postcards, if they haven't already, from Axiom about being able to sign up for service. The lowest cost entry is $49.99 a month for 1 gig service, 1 gig over 1 gig, which is symmetrical service, which is what makes fiber so different from cable and so much better. So it's finally happening. We are reaching out to friends and neighbors we know in that area, encouraging them to sign up, because the more people that sign up with Axiom, that allows them to take the proceeds from that and plow it back into further expansion of the fiber network out Route 90 and other parts of Rockport. So it's finally happening. So that's good news. And then Library Committee, we have our new Guy Mason will be joining the committee, and that's good. And Parks Committee, things are a little quiet this month, and we'll get started probably in January. So.
Budget Committee, so we did not meet last week because of the snowstorm, so meeting tomorrow night here, but, still working closely together with our goals and their goals, and, I think it's been a great effort of getting out ahead versus, in the past, we've always started meeting in March, and so I think it's been good, so I'm anxious to see what comes out of tomorrow night's meeting.
Is it 6 p.m.?
Yes, it is. Yep, 6 p.m. here. That's it.
Conservation Commission is continuing all their good works. Water quality sampling, numerous places. There's a potential project they're looking at in Chickawaukee Lake, because that has been having, I guess, phosphorus, I think it is. They're looking at what that would take, and if there's gonna be interest among the town of Rockport, and of course, Rockland would have to be involved with that too. DNA sampling at Goodies Beach is a thing, and they've been collecting a lot of data over the years, and it's being combined now to see not just what the data points are, but to find, in a graphic sense, see the trends on them. And that's something that's being worked on, which is gonna be very helpful to anybody that wants to see that. And energy coaching grant is something they're working on for low-income energy coaching projects. And then we've got the Pathways Committee, which, in addition to everything we talked about tonight here, they're also working on, along Warrenton Street, there's a small, I guess, relatively small stretch of sidewalk that's been deteriorating over many years, and it doesn't really go anywhere. So that's going to be removed when paving is gonna be done and all that. So they're looking at what kind of a visual definition can be done to allow a proper pathway on the side, for bikes and pedestrians, and so people driving the cars don't just think it's a wider lane for them. So they're looking at designs and stuff like that to help designate that, and hopefully extend it down all the way to Samoset eventually.
Nice.
Safety.
Nice.
And there's more, but I can't remember.
Okay, so much more, yeah. All right, well, do we have a motion to, I think that's it, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And happy
All those in
holidays,
favor?
everyone.
Yes,
See
happy
you.
holidays, and thank you for everyone
Yes.
sticking with us here.